Yo, what's going on? It is Sunday afternoon, 3 p.m. here in Chicago, May 17th, 2020. I have been really trying to make sure that I get the date correct every time I talk to you guys. Just 1 minute. It's a lot brighter in here than I was expecting. All right, got the shades drawn a little bit. I didn't think I would need to do that because it is raining. It has been raining all day. But back to the idea of the date. I've been trying to really make sure I get it right, just because I've been getting it so wrong and I've been losing kind of track of time and everything. I was reading in the news today talk about people talking about beaches opening up for Memorial Day, like coming up this weekend, and I was like, wait, no, huh? And so it just spring has been slow to start here, and it's been chilly, and it's hard to think that like Labor Day or Memorial Day is coming up pretty soon. So that's like a strange like thing to think about. But I've been trying to work on memorizing or like saying the date. I have to say it out loud like twice a day. Well, I don't have to, but I say it loud twice a day. In the morning live stream and the afternoon live stream. And for whatever reason, I always get it wrong. I just can't get it. I'm trying though. CJ Cruz says, "Yo, what's going on? Cooling down from my run. Awesome. I know a lot of you guys are foam rolling or stretching, cooling down as you listen to these either in the podcast form or in YouTube live stream form, and I think that's awesome. I'm having coffee with mine today. I did some different stretching today because I think lately my hips have been feeling really well. I suspect my hips have always felt a little bit kind of like tight and a little bit just but like bunched up. But I've been noticing that it's helpful to stretch and massage like my hip joint. And I'm trying to get really deep in there, and I'm starting to find and feel like maybe I need a deep tissue massage. I normally kind of stray away from those things. I haven't had one since I was in college, and there was like a trainer to go to. So it's something I haven't done in quite a long time, but I'm thinking it might be time. I've been like just throwing like if these are my legs, I've been throwing like one leg over the other and kind of like a figure four almost, and then like getting with my knuckle right in kind of like the hip joint and really massaging in there, and it's been feeling good, and I feel like it's been helping me not necessarily recover faster, but feeling good on subsequent runs. So it's something that I'm kind of chasing that down. I don't think that's something that everyone needs. I think it's something that I need. And so I'm trying to figure it out. Normally when I'm in like a more intense training block, I my normal recommendation for people is to like sit on the floor and kind of shift your weight around to see what hurts. And usually the pain is more in my butt rather than like the hip joints, like so like more directly behind me rather than on my sides. And so then like shifting my weight kind of massages that area, but it might have just been hips this whole time. I don't know. We'll see. Feeling good, so I'm gonna keep going with it. Nathan N says hi from Hawaii. Hope your bike ride went well. Yeah, I had a bike. I hopped on the exercise bike this morning because it's been raining so much, and I had a good time. I've kind of well, today was supposed to be a test. I bought one of those bags that you get, like those RFID blocking bags, to put my Stride foot pod in to see if then working with Zwift would be easier. But I lost the bag, so I couldn't do that. But anyway, I got in a good run. I disconnected all the sensors from all like the bike sensors from my watch. I connected it to my phone, so I still have that data. But I just on my phone watched. I got the Wahoo ticker, the Wahoo app, and tracked the activity that way. But I didn't look at it. I didn't care about cadence. I didn't worry about my heart rate too much. I kept a kind of an eye on it. I also took track of things on my watch, figuring, well, I'm not doing this when I'm running, so I'm thinking maybe the heart rate will be accurate. So I'll be doing a test there. But so I got some heart rate to kind of keep an eye on. But I just watched The Mandalorian and rode my bike for an hour, and it was good. I did it a little bit more intensity, lower, like more resistance, lower cadence, and I had a really good. I feel like I had a really good workout. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for asking, Nathan. Blaine Masterson says, first have 3 days off, and then we're on to hopefully NCAA cross country training. Whoa, okay, that's cool. Interesting. Very cool. Well, hopefully then you do get to do some of that training. Tell me about the 3 days off though. Why are you taking 3 days? Are you like tapering before you start like a running camp of some sort. I'm not familiar with that. I've never trained at the college level for cross country, so I'm not sure how that works. But I'd love to hear more about that. Mark Soundcheck says hello, and Austin Allison says, I believe that upstate New York is now just getting to the 70s. Yeah, see, it's a slow start to the spring. I mean, we should be talking about summer soon. Memorial Day, that's at the end of May every year. For those of you who are not in the U.S., it's like it's a I think federally created holiday, and it kind of marks the what I think in England they call bank holiday, and it marks the official kind of like the official start of summer for a lot of people. So there's like a 3-day weekend. It's nice. And usually you equate it with like summertime and cooking out and friends and family gathering, a lot of drinking beers in the backyard kind of thing. It'll be interesting to see how that goes in the nation. Inez Dunbar says, hi Kofuzi. Hope your Sunday is going well. I managed a 52-mile week. Nice. Running doubles each day. Has been fitting it in with work. My most mileage for a while. That's cool. Hope you're feeling good with that. I think that once you start doing like run commuting, or if you're fitting in around work, the miles add up quickly, and your body can usually adapt to it well, because you're not doing that presumably for some sort of like training plan, and so like those extra miles are just extra miles and not necessarily that intense. And I think that's the best way to kind of increase mileage, and hopefully you're feeling good. That's cool. Congratulations on a high mileage week. JC8489 says, yo, from Texas. I don't know if you can hear that, but I got the window cracked open a little bit here. And it's starting to rain. And usually, like the rain, I think with like the way that the atmosphere works around like a tall building, the rain almost never comes inside if I have the windows open. But sometimes, depending on how the wind goes, it might have some of it kind of come in a little bit. I think we'll be fine, but you might hear it. So if you hear a little pitter-patter in the background, it's rain. Luca Caratella says, do you recommend salt tabs for runs under an hour? I've never had a salt tab before. Unimed sent me some to test out a while ago, 2 types. Regular salt tabs and salt tabs with caffeine, which sounds like a dangerous combo for me. It sounds like something that I would kind of really, really like just to eat, although I don't think one should take them that way. But I've never taken a salt tab myself, though. And I don't think that you would really need one for a run under an hour, because I don't think you'd get depleted in under an hour. It'd be my general guess. I suppose it would depend on how intense that hour is going to be, and just how hot it is. But I would generally think no. David Sachs is saying, what's up, everyone from upstate New York? I always ask people when they say upstate New York, when you say upstate New York, do you mean actual upstate New York, like from like a geographic standpoint? Because I'm from New Jersey, and everyone calls anything that's not New York City upstate New York. It's just a way of saying not New York City for us. I don't mean it pejoratively, but I can understand how someone from actual upstate New York, like Ithaca area, would take it pejoratively. By the way, upstate New York, one of my favorite vacations my family and I took growing up was up to Lake George. Man, that place is great. Such a beautiful place. I'd love to go there again now, because I bet you there's really good running in that area. But a beautiful place. We went there a couple summers in a row. There's not a lot of things that we did like many years in a row, at least not that I remember. My mom's over here, so like if you made a big effort to do things year after year after year, I don't remember a lot of them, so I'm sorry about that. But one of the things I do remember is we went to Lake George several years in a row, and I really liked that. And as a kid, we moved around a lot, and so having something that was regular over the course of years was really special to me. And I still kind of feel that way about a lot of, I really like traditions, because we didn't really have a lot of that, being an immigrant family. Kareem Adasha says, or Adatia says, what shoes are you wearing right now for running? Right now, I'm juggling like 7 or 8 different shoes, but the shoe that I'm kind of like defaulting to, if I don't have a specific test that I'm doing, I'm defaulting to the Ultra Escalante. I think I've got like 60 miles in them, 50 something miles in them. They're real easy to rack up miles in, and I've been enjoying them. The other one that I've been, like the ones that I'm trying to like really focusing on mileage on are that and the Glycerin 18. And then eventually I'm going to try to squeeze out another 25 miles in the Saucony Freedom 3. Hopefully we can do that. I've been having some issues with it. I don't know if it's me or the shoe, but it's been kind of bothering my knee, I think. there's been some correlation. And so like around whenever I run in that shoe, my knee starts to bug me. And so I think that shoe and I just don't get along. But I'm going to try to get to 100 miles in it. I'll probably do one more run in it. And my knee's been feeling great lately because I've taken a break from that shoe. And I'm going to take one more run in it. And if it bothers me again, then I'll know for sure that that's it. CJ Crew says, my daughter and I are excited for your video editing video. I was talking today. I'm excited about it too. We'll see how it goes. It'll be really boring for most people. It'll probably be as boring as that. Oh, the dog is has a hairball. It'll probably be as boring for a lot of people as the wireless charger pad duo video that I made this week. But for a handful of people, it'll be super interesting. And so we talked about it a little bit on the morning live stream. One of the questions today was anything I'm excited about coming up. And this last week, I made a video about some of my GoPro tips, or how I shoot with my GoPro and the selfie stick. And then I think what I follow that up with is to get all my footage, talking part, shoe, B-roll, and running footage, the 3 parts, and just do a screen, narrate myself working for the hour it takes me to make the video from beginning to end. So that's coming up hopefully this week. It'll depend on any new shoes coming in this week. There should be at least one pair of shoes coming in this week. Hopefully it's the Sock and the Endorphin Pro. But there's another one that I think is coming. I'll do it on that. I could do it on that one too. Let's see. James says, do your students know that I make videos? Some of them do. There was one, I think of the years that the last 3 or 4 years that I've been running YouTube videos, I think only maybe in the last year or so have they really started popping up, even when you're not very directly searching for things. Sorry, I'm getting a lot of light. It's just really blowing me out. So I think there's been 2 students so far that have picked it up, and one has been because he was doing a YouTube search on my name, because I think he knew that because I make videos for work too. And so he was looking for some of the videos that I made for work, and he found these also. And then another one said his roommate's girlfriend is a big runner, and he was walking around the apartment one day and heard my voice coming from another room, and he's like, what the heck is that? And he recognized the voice, and then he was like, oh, I didn't know you made running YouTube videos. He's like me, my roommate's a big runner. He watches you all the time, apparently. Him and his girlfriend. I was like, that's cool. I'm glad they're fans. It was really funny. Let's see. Blaine Masterson said, train all the way through what would have been outdoor track. Okay. Finishing training block. He's getting ready for cross country we were talking about. And he said, so he's finished his training block, and he finished his training for what would have been the outdoor track season, which was canceled very abruptly for a lot of people. And then, so he's going to take 3 days off. Not a lot. A 5-day stretch of running every other day, and then we get into more steady mileage. Cool. Very cool. That's awesome. Well, good luck. Hopefully you guys can have I know it'll be a weird season, but hopefully you guys get to have a season. Linton Wong says, what do you look for when getting fitted for a shoe? How much space in the toe box for a shoe, a thumb's width between the toes and the under the shoe, or less? I don't do the thing. I feel like the shoe just should feel snug. I always kind of have thought that different people have different amounts of space at the end of the shoe depending on how wide their foot is. I think if you're not sure and you're getting fitted, hop on a treadmill and see how it feels to run in it. If it's really tight, you shouldn't be right at the edge of the shoe, because that's going to hurt. That's going to be really uncomfortable. That's very tight. If your toes are at the end of the shoe, though, I suspect that your foot won't fit in the width of the shoe. And so your foot should just feel like it's in there. It should feel like you're wearing not skinny jeans, but a slim cut of jeans. Just they should feel in there. They shouldn't feel baggy. They shouldn't feel loose. They should feel like you can get up and go run around in them. Maybe not necessarily doing suicides on a basketball court, but being able to run in them. So they should feel snug. That's not a very scientific way of explaining it, but that's kind of how I feel about when I feel like, does this shoe feel right or not? Linton Wong says, which beers do you like? I like them all. Well, that's not true. I don't like sours. I'm not a big fan of sour beers. But I've been going through some of my local favorites, or not necessarily local favorites, just favorites on the Thursday live streams. So I'm getting different beers for those. Right now, I mean, I basically just kind of like fruity IPAs or fruity wheats. That's kind of like what I've been drinking a lot of. Um, that's also kind of what's really popular and trendy. So I don't know that says a lot about me as being a discerning beer drinker. But I also really like Coors Light and Miller Lite. I drink a lot of Coors Light when I'm in Iowa because that's what my father-in-law drinks when he's not. I mean, Busch Light's probably the most popular beer in a lot of Iowa. Coors Light is also very popular. So is like Bud Light, but like I'd say that's probably like the main order of it. And then what's really nice is my father-in-law knows that I drink Miller Lite. So whenever I go back for like Thanksgiving or Christmas, there's always like mostly Coors Lights and then some Miller Lights in the fridge. He's very thoughtful. Because I know he doesn't like them. So when he buys those, I think he buys them because he knows that I like them. So, we all show our love in different ways. Dr. Funk 1216 says, "Did you watch Zach Bitter run 100 miles on a treadmill?" I heard about that. He set a record, right? I didn't watch it. It doesn't sound like something I'd want to do, either run or watch. But I think it's super cool that he set a record. I also saw someone set a record for running a mile while dribbling a basketball. That was pretty funny. Jefferson Sai says, "Hey Kofuzi, just wanted to let you know how much I appreciate you've been taking the time to connect with your viewers through these live streams. I always look forward to 3 p.m. every day." Thank you so much, Jefferson, and thanks for coming and connecting with me as well. So it requires people to be here and giving me stuff to talk about. Otherwise, I just kind of be like staring at the camera, like that scene in Wayne's World where Wayne storms off and it's just Garth and he's like staring at the camera. That's kind of what it would be if it wasn't for you guys making the conversation great here. Bruno Pires says hello from Portugal. What's going on? And then someone coming in saying hi from Moscow. I'm afraid I don't know how to read that. But he says, "Love your videos." Awesome. Austin Allison is from Saratoga Springs, a beautiful part of the country. Love it. Daryl George has some of the best views in upstate New York. Yeah. And David Sachs is actually in upstate New York. So true. Everyone calls anything outside of New York City upstate. Yeah. I mean, it's not just me. I think everyone does that. But I don't know if like upstate New Yorkers do that. That's what I'm not sure of. But I know that upstate New Yorkers must be familiar with that practice. Joel Sojan says, "Nike Epic React 2 versus Odyssey React 2 for short runs and pricing." I don't know what the pricing is in your country or in any country right now. I haven't seen it. I actually don't know that they made that many Odyssey React 2s because I feel like it got discounted really quick, and then I never saw discounted versions of it again, telling me that there's no stock. So I'm not sure. But I do think that the Odyssey React 2 started out cheaper than the Epic React. And for short runs, I'd say I like the Odyssey React. The Odyssey React 2, I used to describe it as a Pegasus, but with React foam. Now I guess the Pegasus is the PI Pegasus, but with React foam. And I guess Daryl George says thoughts on the Pegasus 37 is, I think that it's not going to feel very much like an Odyssey React 2, even though the Pegasus has React foam in it. And I think that this is the first time in like a decade that they've switched the foam that's in the Pegasus, because it's been Cushlon for a really long time. And I'm also very interested to see if anyone has pictures of what the Zoom Air Pocket looks like. Because the way that the photos look, they did that like X-ray or like that Total Recall style of X-ray where you could see what it looks like when it's being compressed. And they're talking about how it's 20 psi for men and 15 psi for women. That doesn't sound like the way that people talk about Zoom Air. People talk about Zoom Air very differently. Zoom Air looks like almost like the structure of a building, like a garage, like a parking garage. Underneath, there's all these like fibers that sit in the middle, and they stand up tall, like they look like this, and then when you stand on it, it compresses and then springs back, right? And so that's how Zoom Air works. It's not an air pocket necessarily. There's air in there, but the propulsion of it isn't from air. It's from those fibers that spring back. So that's the thing that I'm most curious about. So I think I have a pair coming, and that might be a shoe that I'll have to cut open. I do have like from my last Pegasus cutting failed fiasco, I did buy a whole bunch of um, I don't know, what do they call it? Solvents is that the word you would use for it? Chemicals that can eat glue. And so I'll try to like take that thing apart and see what it looks like. I mean, I'll run it at first, and then I'll like take it apart. Jabe Train says, "What's up?" And Luca Cartello says, "Thanks for the answer." No problem. David Sack says, "Lake George is beautiful. We normally go for July 4th weekend." Yeah, it's such a beautiful place. I don't have any. We went when I was young enough that I don't have specific memories, except for like, it's the first time I really, and I've been to, I grew up by the shore, Jersey Shore, but like Lake George is one of the first time I recall waking up early, not being mad about it, and enjoying like a nature view. I mean, I know that's kind of a very specific amount of things, but those are like the feelings that I remember from it. And now I see pictures of it, people that are on Instagram and Facebook and stuff, and it's beautiful, and it definitely conjures up those feelings. So I'll have to go back. Austin Allison says, "How do you get your GoPro footage so smooth? I've been trying to record my running, but it is hard to watch with all the shaky, shaky, shaky." I use slow motion, and so I shoot it at 1080 and 120 frames per second. And then when I play it back at 30 frames per second. So you have all these frames, and then you're slowing it down to 25% playback speed, and that makes just about anything look smooth. And then with the big upgrade from GoPro Hero 7 to 8 is that on the GoPro Hero 7, although I think by the end they had a firmware update that made it not the case, but I believe at least at first, the GoPro Hero 7 could stabilize at 120 frames per second, but not as much as it could stabilize if you're shooting at 1080 and 60 frames per second. On the GoPro Hero 8, that full level of stabilization was bumped up all the way up to 120 frames per second, so that's why like the footage looks smoother. And even when I play that same footage back at regular speed, it's smoother than it would have been with like a GoPro Hero 7, because that level of stabilization is available still at that faster capture frame rate. So that's, most of it's the tool, and the other part is camera trick. Those are the answers. Let's see. Demaje Brown says, "Was watching a video of yours this morning that was 3 years old. 5K PR from 91084. Holy crap, you've come a long way. Crazy transformation." Yeah, I go back and visit that one from once in a while. And the reason why I have to keep going back to that is because I keep forgetting what my PR is from 1994, my 5K PR. And I don't think I'm going to be able to beat it even now, but because it's either 1750 or 1850 or somewhere in that range. I told you I was never very fast. But I still don't think I could. Maybe I could beat 1850 with some training and if I give me like a month, maybe I can do some race specific training and get there. But yeah, at that point, that 3-year-old video, if it is 3 years old, I was at like 21:20 for my current like 5K PR. So I think I'm well under that now, but my goal at that time was to break 20. I did that about 2 years ago, I think. So it took a while. It took a lot longer than I thought to be able to do that. Let's see. Michael Sandoval says, "Have you ever run the 606 near Humboldt Park? It's a short run, but cool visuals." Yeah, I trained there like last summer with the Nike team, because the Edge Athlete Lounge is right by there. And so it's like actually like a block away from there, at least from the eastern end of it. And I've run there with my buddies as well, because one of my buddies, the one that moved down to Austin, he used to live down in, I guess it would be considered Avondale, maybe. And so me and my other buddy lives up like in Portage Park-ish area. And so like we would triangulate at the western end of the 606 and get together to run. But yeah, I love the 606. It's closed, so can't go there now. Let's see. Harry Hughes, favorite running caps? My favorite ones are these from Path Projects. Path Projects has a whole bunch of them that they're all good. I like them all. They sent me I think they sent me one of everything. And this one is probably my favorite because it's got the mesh back. This little strip is reflective, and in the front, it's like knit material, so it dries really fast. So I like it a lot. A lot of times with trucker caps, the front material here, even on the non-elite ones that I'm selling, it's like cotton. It's It's not a quick dry material, and so it's not ideal. But these Path Project ones are great. Although I don't think I look that great with them forward. So I always wear them backwards. Like these, I just think that I look a little bit not as, like, I don't know if I need to curl it or what, but I just don't think I look great with them forward. But I like them backwards. The other ones that are my favorite are the Nike Dry Fit hats. For a while, they stopped selling them as running hats and they sold them as golf hats. So you have to look up like Nike Golf to find them. But I would say the best way to find those is that anytime you go to a running expo, there's usually a dude, like some guy that owns a running store somewhere, or maybe he just is maybe doesn't have a brick and mortar location, but there's usually a person there. It doesn't have to be a guy, but there's usually a person there that is selling like tubs of stuff, running apparel, and usually there's one person selling those Nike Dry Fit hats for like $20 a piece. And I've been like, I for a while I was compulsively buying them, like every time I saw it. So I have like 6 of those, like 3 of them in gray, 2 of them in black, 1 in white. But those are good hats too. Martin Lange says, hi Kofuzi, in Germany the Endorphin Pro will be delivered in the upcoming week as well, so a good chance to get them. I hope I get mine this week. I was very jealous when I kept seeing them. I mean, England's been getting all the first releases lately. England and Japan. Last year it was Japan got everything first. This year England's getting everything first. Last year England got a lot of stuff first too. They got the next percent at the London Marathon, so I mean, that's great for you guys, but I'm very jealous. Jabe Train says, sorry if you answered these already, but do you rotate sneakers? Which are in your rotation? Lastly, how do you cycle in shoes for reviews? Are you usually done with them after a review? Yeah, I mean, I usually, well, that's how I decide, like, I kind of decide what to run in. I usually have a variety of shoes on hand that I'm kind of, like, testing. And so, like, whatever, if I want to run fast that day, I'll pick, like, I might have one. Right now I have, like, 5 fast day shoes. So I have an abundance of those. I don't have that many like max cushion shoes right now. I have the Glycerin 18, which doesn't really feel like a max cushion shoe to me. But I have that one, and so like if that's what I need, I'll go to that. Or if I just need a daily trainer, I have the Ultra Escalante. So that's kind of how I pick. I pick by what I need to do that day. And in terms of rotating the shoes, I pick a different shoe for the task. And so that the rotation takes care of itself, So that's kind of how I pick what to do. And then once I get to the 100-mile review, with some exceptions, I will pretty much donate them right away. Some shoes I'll hold on to if I want to do like a bigger review later. So like all the Saucony shoes that I've run in this year, I still have them somewhere in the house, because I'll do a Saucony review later of all of the Saucony shoes. But most of the time I just donate them to charity, and I hope that someone, I really just hope that it becomes like common knowledge that like at the Salvation Army in Chicago, the one on Clybourne, that there's usually always really good running shoes in size 9 to pick up. I hope that I can supply them with enough for that to become common knowledge, but I'm hoping that there's like somewhere there's someone's mom is like, look, I got you a good shoe this time. And some kid's really happy to have it. That's my hope. Or I think it'd be really funny if like someday like I saw like some guy sleeping under a bridge that had like SL20s on. I don't think that'd be funny, but it'd be like a strange twist of fate to have that happen. Let's see. EPMD says, love your videos, and the best ones to me are always your races. How come you didn't put more race footage in those? Is it too distracting? Like more race footage in the races? Like it's all races. Like there's 2 kinds of, every race I have has two videos. One is the race itself, and then the other, and that's just like a music video, and the other is like the race recap. And so that's usually what I have. No matter how long the race video isn't going to be that long, just because people don't have the attention span for that. And yeah, that's the main thing. I think it just gets boring after a while if I have too much race. But I do capture a lot of footage when I'm in a race because I need footage for the second day of video as well, the race recap. Let's see. GT says, enjoyed your Stride versus Polar power meter comparison a while ago. Have you tried the Garmin Pod version or Connect IQ user-made power meters? Can you do comparison of those versus the Stride? I have not tried the Garmin Pod because I don't think they've made it in about 3 years. Like you can't find. It's not on the website, the Garmin Foot Pod, and you can't even find stock of it like on Amazon. My suspicion is that they just abandoned the genre, and I've heard that people are doing like wrist-based power from their through apps. I think that's really interesting. I'm not sure how that would work. Um, I don't think that I have the discipline to do that kind of test. That's somebody else. That's not me. My wife was around May the 4th. She was looking through, like, I have a lot of costumes just because I like getting dressed up. And she was looking for all my Star Wars costumes because we were doing family trivia on Zoom. And so she wanted us to wear costumes while we did it. And then she found a face shield that I have. I have a thing that's like, it's like a welder's mask, but instead of being a welding material up front, it's just clear plastic. And she's like, do you have PPE? And I'm like, no. She's like, that face shield, what's that for? And I go, oh, that's my face shield that I have for whenever I do a watch review. Because people, whenever you make a watch review, everyone suddenly is a satellite engineer, and the comments get really nasty, and everyone talks about whether or not your scientific method is valid. And I'm like, how can you even talk about statistical significance of testing when, like, the weather, like, it would take you longer than the lifespan of a watch to be able to get in enough runs to get statistical significance and eliminate enough variables to say that you have confidence that something is accurate from a statistical significance perspective from one person. That's why you need like hundreds of testers to be able to say something like that. But people are always like suddenly like statisticians, and they know everything. And so like every time I make a video, one time I physically put it on at the beginning of a video to say like, look, I made another GPS watch video. But a lot of times I mentally put it on. I just I love my GPS watches and I love making videos about them. But sometimes like it's kind of like what I imagine being like a camera YouTuber would be like, where it's just like, oh boy, or do you guys even enjoy cameras? Like, do you like photography? It doesn't sound like you guys like photography. It sounds like you guys just like arguing, is what I think whenever I'm in the comments of like a camera YouTuber's videos. And so like that's how it feels sometimes when I make a GPS watch video. So I don't think that I'll be probably testing some of the Connect IQ user-made power meters. Someone else can handle that. I'll very happily cede that territory. Mr. Fearon says, hello, I would like to know if the SL20, if the Adidas SL20 is a daily shoe. Happy Sunday, all from the UK. I would say probably not. I wouldn't like it as I mean, I guess it depends on how long your daily runs are. But for me, there's not a lot in the heel. It seems like all the Adidas shoes this year, and I'm going to exaggerate, like the heel is back here and it balloons out into the forefoot, and then like the heel is just this like tiny afterthought. And I definitely feel that with the Adios 5. I definitely feel it with the SL20, although the SL20 is a little bit more forgiving. The SL20 is of like, let's say, of like the, like, I don't know, I've never run in the RC2, but of that, like I've seen some images of and some stats on like the Takumi Sen 6, and I haven't run in that one either. That's not for sale in the US for some reason. And the SL20, I think the SL20 probably has the biggest trunk, but I still don't think that it'd be enough for like comfortable, like, you know, multiple days in a row of easy running. I think you could do it if you needed to, depending on how far you're going. But I wouldn't pick that myself. Jason Lee says, are you excited for the Tempo Next Percent? Not really. I don't know. Like this year, like the Alpha Fly and the Tempo Next Percent and all like the spikes that went along with it, like that was like a real departure for me. I don't know what we're looking at anymore. And yeah, I'm not that excited for it. Alexander Chen says, favorite wine? Protocolo. It's a Spanish red? Italian red? I'm not sure. I don't remember anymore. But in the US, it's like $8 a bottle, or it was the last time I bought a case of it. And very drinkable, very tasty. You know, I don't really get a lot of nuance in my taste buds. I don't know if I just don't smell very well. Like smell very well. Um, but in terms of like fragrance, but it works for me. I like flavors that are like relatively straightforward and not too in your face. So nothing that's too bold. Like same thing with my coffees. I like Latin American coffees. If we're talking about single origin, and like my scotches, I like the ones that are relatively clean and not too peaty. That always kind of confuses me. And with wines, I don't. I like. I can appreciate some of the bigger juicy reds, but things like protocol, though I don't even know where it's from right now. I want to say Spain, but I could be wrong on that. Um, it's a tasty, straightforward red. I like it. So that's it. Let's see. Uh, Simon Parcher says, appreciated that 2019 London Marathon Next Percent release. Yeah, I know a lot of people did. But, and I hope that more shoe companies start doing that, because I think, and maybe not necessarily only at world majors, but like I love the idea of like tying a shoe release to like a geographic location. I know that for the Atlanta Trials Marathon, I don't think they advertise it nearly well enough, but Brooks did a local release of the Hyperion Tempo, like for that weekend, and I thought that like that is something that like should have been big news, huge news, but it was like people were like, I heard that people were doing this. Have you heard about it? I'm like, I don't know. Is that true? Let's call the shoe store and find out. That kind of thing. But I think it makes it so that way, like, I don't know if that would upset like the race organizers, because then it takes some heat off of the expo. But whether you're doing it at the expo or locally at like some shoe stores, I like love the idea of like making the marathon become more of a real like runner's celebration weekend than just like show up for the race, go to bed early because you got to run the next morning kind of thing. Because you got spectators more and more. I think what's becoming hopefully more common is that like 3 people might be going to travel to run a race, but they're bringing a squad of like 7 or 8 people because maybe their training buddies want to go and support them, and they're gonna go check out like, oh, someone's doing like a live podcast at the expo. There's a shoe release happening at the local running store. Like I would love to see more stuff like that. And I thought we were going that direction. Who knows what things will be like when we get back to not normal. I'm not gonna say normal, but once we start racing again. Trevor Cross says, you need to try the Hoka Clifton 7 when it comes out. Yeah, I look forward to it. Adam Andrews says, is the Stride Foot Pod worth the cost? I would say yes. I really like it because I don't know how else to get accurate GPS. Even just the other day, I've been riding my bike, or my daughter's been riding her bike around the neighborhood. And she's been now wanting to ride longer distances. And so before we just kind of ridden around the block a couple times, but it really become apparent to me that she was ready to stretch her legs on that thing a little bit more. She's gotten very good at riding without training wheels. She's 8, so she should be. And but like I've never really like, we've gone on bike rides along the lakefront path before, but that was kind of like last fall, back when things were normal. And now she's like realizes that she's kind of like really comfortable on her bike, and so like she wanted to stretch her legs, and so we were doing that. And I was like, we're going far enough that I'm going to track this. I'm tracking it on my watch. And so I didn't have my foot pod. And in this area, there's taller buildings, buildings that are in the 20 to maybe 25 stories. But a lot of the buildings are small, like three stories tall, some of them less. And I didn't have my foot pod on or my heart rate monitor, and I just recorded it as a walking activity. So it shows up on Strava as walking. And we did 2 miles one day, 2.5 the other day, 2 miles the next. And going by the GPS, it looks like I'm cutting through buildings, across blocks. It shorted me certain areas and in terms of distance, and it gave me a lot more in others than what where we had actually gone. And so like, it's, if you're basing your training off of pace and distance, then I think a foot pod is worth it depending on where you are. I think a lot of people are aware that Chicago was bad for GPS because like you literally run under the street at certain points, and so you're physically blocked from satellite reception by several feet of steel and concrete. But even when you're not underground, you're still in like skyscrapers, which make it hard to get a good signal. And so that is the main reason why I have a foot pod. Now, there are other cheaper foot pods that can do like similar things, but the Stride foot pod also gives you power and other metrics like cadence and stuff. I don't really look at those data fields, but power is something that I'll be looking at much more closely the next time I train for a marathon. Antonio Gonzalez says, your choice between Carbon X and Carbon Rocket. Carbon X if it's a marathon or a long training run, and Carbon Rocket if it is a half marathon or shorter of a race. I don't only race in the Carbon Rocket. I wouldn't really train in it. I took it on like a 15-mile training run one time, and it was, I think what like Seth James Demore would call steezy. So not quite marathon pace running, but faster than easy running, and it was beautiful for that. But I was on a soft surface, so otherwise, if I'm on pavement, I don't know that I like the Carbon Rocket. After about, well, I can tell you from personal experience, my feet will really start being angry at about the 15-mile mark in a marathon for running in the Carbon Rocket. Drake Holtree says, how are you staying motivated when races have started going virtual? I lost my enthusiasm when all my races went virtual, which feels like canceled. I don't like virtual races. I haven't done a single one. I've had a lot of people ask me to do them, and I hopefully very politely I've tried to be polite about it, but I just don't like virtual races. At first, I didn't like them because it felt like it was encouraging lots of people to go be outside at the same time. And since then, I think the virtual races have been like aware of that and have been like, you can do this virtual event anywhere between like May 11th through 13th, or like you get a window of time to do it, which I find a little bit more acceptable. But at this point, I just don't want to do a virtual race. I'm not that interested in it. I'm also not interested in doing time trials or like trying to set a PR during a pandemic right now. So, I mean, this is all going on a lot longer than I originally kind of anticipated. So my thoughts on that are evolving too. It's just because it's been so long, but I'm not a huge fan of virtual races. But how do I stay motivated? I think of it as, one, I want to maintain my level of fitness just for overall body and immune strength. Because I feel like if I just stopped doing everything, my body would be like, what the heck is happening? And it would freak out. The other thing is I enjoy running. So it makes me happy and I like doing it. So I'm running because I like it. That's one thing that keeps me motivated is I like it. I like seeing numbers on Strava. I like having a relatively high weekly number. All those things I like. I also like being out there. I like the activity. I like being in the moment and right afterwards too. And then I guess the third thing is that like if races come back and all of a sudden it's like, all right, 2 months from now there's gonna be a marathon. It's gonna be able to go. I don't want to be like, but I need 20 weeks. I want to be ready to like start like my marathon training block the following day if I need to. Not that I think that it'll come to that, but like just mentally, I just want to be like at the ready for when things come back. That's kind of how I'm staying motivated. All right, well, I think that's a good place to leave it for today. The rain is very hypnotizing because I could see it and kind of hear it on the other side of you, on the other side of this thing. So I'm very relaxed right now. But I've also just had a really good time talking to all you guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the conversation today. Thanks so much for checking in. I'll be back tomorrow, Monday at 6 a.m. on Instagram and 3 p.m. back here on YouTube. Sorry if I didn't get to your comment or your question. You can always DM me or come back to any of those other live streams, and I'll do my best to get to you then. In another one of the conversations, and I hope to see you again soon. All right. If you haven't gone on a run yet, I hope you are safe on your run, and I will see you guys soon. Thanks, everybody.